Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes all that noise, articles, studies, notes, and pulls out the stuff that actually helps you feel genuinely informed.
And today, we're tackling a really big one, a question people have asked forever, really.
What is happiness? Seriously, how do you find it? Especially now when you're just bombarded with advice, little quotes, sound bites.
Right, it's everywhere. Tea bags, calendars, those emails, your and forwards. And Jonathan Haidt, who wrote The Happiness Hypothesis, the book we're diving into today, he nails this problem.
Oh, yeah. How so?
He talks about this idea, like the paradox of abundance. There's so much wisdom out there, it becomes overwhelming, like being lost in Borges' Library of Babel.
Ah, the infinite library, where the answer to everything exists somewhere, but good luck finding it among all the gibberish.
Exactly. You've got all this quantity, but it actually makes it harder to engage, to really absorb anything meaningful. You just scroll past.
So Haidt's book, and our goal here today, is to cut through that noise.
Pretty much. He tries to bridge the gap between, ancient wisdom, India, China, the Mediterranean, the big thinkers, the core texts.
Like the Upanishads, Confucius, Plato, the Bible, all that foundational stuff.
Yeah, that deep historical wisdom. Bridge that with modern psychology, with the science.
Fair.
You get some concrete answers about, well, life's big questions.
Okay, so what are the big questions we're focusing on from Haidt?
Well, he keeps coming back to a few core things. First, what is this thing called happiness, really? And how do we actually get more of it? Is it even something you can get and keep?
Okay, that's fundamental. What else?
Then how do we make sense of our lives? Like, where does meaning come from? Purpose.
Right, the meaning question. Always a big one.
And third, how does our psychology, our mind, our gut feelings, our moral compass, the culture we're soaked in, our beliefs, how does all that stuff interact? It's all tangled together, shaping how we experience everything.
It sounds like he's trying to build a whole integrated picture.
That's exactly it. He offers this comprehensive path. And that's what we want to unpack for you. By the end of this, you should have a really solid grasp of Haidt's core ideas about human flourishing.
With hopefully some surprising insights and practical stuff you can actually use.
Definitely. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it. Okay, part one, the divided self. This is huge in Haidt's work, isn't it? The idea of the elephant and the rider.
Oh, absolutely foundational. It's his central metaphor for the mind. He says, think of your mind like a tiny rider on the back of this enormous elephant.
Okay, so the rider is what? My conscious thoughts? My reasoning?
Exactly. The rider is the bit that thinks, plans, uses language. It's the part that feels like it's in charge, making decisions.
But the elephant, that's the powerful one.
That's the rest of it. All the automatic stuff, gut feelings, emotions, intuitions, instincts. It's ancient, powerful, and, well, it often has its own ideas.
And the rider doesn't have full control.
That's the crucial point. Very limited control. The rider is more like an advisor or maybe a press secretary, constantly trying to make sense of what the elephant is already doing or wanting to do. It's not the boss.
Haidt tells that story about riding a horse on a cliff path, right? Where he's freaking out, but the horse is totally calm.
Yeah, that's a perfect illustration. He, the rider, is panicking, trying to steer.
Yeah.
But the horse, the elephant, it knows the path. It's done it a million times. It's not going off the cliff.
So his conscious fear and commands were basically irrelevant to the horse's ingrained knowledge and instinct?
Totally. The elephant knew better. And it wasn't really listening to the rider's panicked chouts anyway.
And this isn't some brand new idea, this internal split.
Not at all. Haidt does a great job connecting it back. Think of St. Paul talking about the flesh versus the spirit, that internal battle.
Or Ben Franklin saying, if passion drives, let reason hold the reins. Reason guides, it doesn't eliminate passion.
Spot on. And Plato, way back, with his charioteer trying to control two horses, one noble, one unruly, same struggle.
Even Freud's model kind of fits, doesn't it? The ego trying to manage the id's desires while the superego backseat drives.
Definitely. The ego is the rider, the id is the hungry elephant, and the superego is, the annoying backseat driver judging everything. There's this long history of humans recognizing we're not unified, that there's this internal division.
So Haidt builds on this. He talks about 4 main ways our minds are divided, which explains why the rider and elephant are often in conflict.
Right. First up is mind versus body. We say things like, my stomach has butterflies or my legs feel like jelly. But Montaigne, the philosopher, he took it further.
What did he say?
He suggested body parts almost have their own emotions. He wrote about blushing, erections, Involuntary bowel movements.
Yeah.
Things the body does completely without the rider's permission.
Stuff we can't consciously control. We
Right.
now know that's the autonomic nervous system, but he was onto something.
He really was. And he even talked about what we now call the second brain in our gut. Millions of neurons there, influencing our mood and decisions way below our conscious awareness. The body definitely has its own agenda sometimes.
That's wild. Okay, what's the second division?
Left versus right hemisphere. This is where the split brain research comes in, and it really shows the writer making stuff up.
Ah, Kazanika's experiments. Those are fascinating. People who had the connection between their brain hemispheres cut.
Right, to treat epilepsy. So you show a chicken claw picture to their right eye that goes to the left speaking hemisphere. You show a snowy scene to the left eye that goes to the non-speaking right hemisphere.
And then you ask them to point to related objects?
Yep. The right hand, controlled by the left brain, points to a chicken. Makes sense. But the left hand, controlled by the right brain, points to a shovel. Because, snow.
Okay, two different inputs, two different responses.
All right.
But the spooky part is when you ask why they pointed to those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The left hemisphere, the speaking part, the writer, has no idea why the left hand pointed to a shovel, but does it say, I don't know? Nope.
It confabulates. It makes up a story.
Instantly. Something totally plausible like, oh, the chicken claw goes with the chicken and you need a shovel to clean out the chicken coop. It just invents a reason.
That's the interpreter module Haidt talks about. Our inner storyteller just fills in the gaps, rationalizing behavior even when it doesn't know the real cause.
And the scary thing is, we all do this to some extent. Our writer is constantly spinning narratives to make sense of the elephant's actions, even if the narrative isn't quite accurate. It prioritizes coherence over truth sometimes.
Wow. Okay, division 3.
New versus old brain. This challenges that old story, the Promethean script, Haidt calls it.
The idea that reason, our new brain or neocortex, came along and tamed our primitive emotional old brain, the limbic system. Like we were just animals until reason saved us.
Yeah, that hierarchical view. But Haidt says, hang on. The frontal cortex, especially the bit right above our eyes, the orbitofrontal cortex, didn't suppress emotion. It actually allowed for a massive expansion of our emotional life.
How so?
It's crucial for rapidly evaluating rewards and punishments. It lights up like crazy when something good or bad might happen. Without those quick emotional tags from the elephant, the rider would be lost.
Paralyzed by options.
Totally. You'd see all the choices, but you wouldn't have that immediate gut feeling of like or dislike to guide you. Decision-making would grind to a halt.
So Haidt's point is,
human rationality depends critically on sophisticated emotionality. It's not reason versus emotion. It's reason working with sophisticated emotion. The neocortex made the elephant smarter too, not just the rider.
that's a really important shift in thinking, which leads us to the 4th division.
Controlled versus automatic processes. And this maps almost perfectly onto the rider and elephant.
Okay, so controlled processes are the rider. Slow, conscious, effortful, like doing math problems.
Exactly. Needs language, takes effort, can only really do one thing at a time. And automatic processes are the elephant. Fast, parallel, effortless, handles almost everything we do without us thinking about it.
This sounds a lot like Kahneman's System 1 and System 2 thinking.
It's very closely related. System 1 is the fast, intuitive elephant. System 2 is the slow, deliberate rider.
And the elephant is doing most of the work.
Overwhelmingly. Think about driving a car, recognizing faces, understanding language. It's almost all automatic. Research even shows tiny, unnoticed cues can steer the elephant.
Like those studies where seeing words related to old people makes you walk slower without even realizing it.
Exactly. The elephant is constantly picking up cues and adjusting, often holding the finger on the dopamine release button, driving our motivation and behavior beneath our awareness.
While the poor rider can only focus on one thing at a time, it's like the elephant is running this massive parallel processing computer, and the rider has a tiny calculator.
That's a great analogy. The elephant is shaped by evolution for quick, generally reliable action. The rider, the conscious controller, is a much more recent development, maybe version 1.0 with a lot of bugs, as Haidt puts it.
Which makes David Hume's famous line really hit home.
Reason is, and ought only to be the slave of the passions.
And can never pretend to any other office than to serve and obey them. The rider serves the elephant, not the other way around.
Pretty much. The rider can advise, maybe navigate a bit, but it's not giving direct orders most of the time.
Okay, so if the rider's power is so limited, how does that show up in everyday life? Like trying to control ourselves?
Failures of self-control. The classic marshmallow test is the perfect example.
Right, the kids who have to wait to get 2 marshmallows instead of eating one right away, most struggle.
Hugely. But the kids who succeeded, they didn't just grit their teeth and use willpower. That's the rider trying to boss the elephant around, and it rarely works.
So what did they do?
They used strategies. They distracted the elephant. They looked away, covered their eyes, sang songs, thought about something else. The rider influenced the elephant indirectly.
By managing its attention, its environment. Smart.
Very smart.
Uh-huh.
And it shows the rider can help, but through cleverness, not brute force.
We also see the limits in trying not to think about something, right? The ironic processes of mental control.
Oh, Wegner's white bear. Classic. Try not to think of a white bear right now.
Thinking of a white bear. Yep. Impossible. It pops right in.
Exactly. Trying to suppress a thought often makes it stronger. It's ironic because the automatic system, the elephant, has to keep checking if you're thinking the forbidden thought, which of course brings it to mind.
Which also explains why arguing with pure logic often fails.
Totally. People's gut feelings, their elephant, usually decides first. Then the rider, the inner lawyer, jumps in to create justifications after the fact.
We're masters at rationalizing what our elephant already believes or wants. Makes genuine persuasion really hard.
Extremely. Your facts might bounce right off if their elephant isn't already leaning that way.
Okay, so if direct commands fail, and willpower is weak and arguing is tricky, how do we change? How do we tame the elephant?
That's the million-dollar question. And Haidt says, forget brute force. You need a method for taming the elephant, for changing your mind gradually. And this is where ancient wisdom and modern science really align.
Let's start with the ancient wisdom, meditation.
Yes. Haidt suggests Buddha basically figured this out centuries ago. Meditation, especially mindfulness, it tames and calms the elephant.
How? By just watching thoughts without getting swept away?
Pretty much. Over time, it seems to lessen the grip of those anxious, grasping, negative thoughts. It improves your affective style, your overall emotional climate. Like Buddha said, finding that quietness brings freedom from fear. It's about gently retraining the elephant's habits.
And then there's the modern science approach, cognitive therapy.
Right, developed by Aaron Beck back in the 60s. He saw that depressed people were stuck in these negative thought loops.
The cognitive triad.
Exactly. I'm no good. My world is bleak. My future is hopeless. The elephant is just churning out negativity automatically.
So cognitive therapy helps the rider challenge those thoughts.
Precisely. It trains you to catch the automatic negative thoughts, examine the evidence for them like a detective, and then consciously reframe them into something more realistic and balanced. It's the rider helping to retrain the elephant's automatic judgments, a collaborative effort.
And the third approach Haidt discusses is chemical, Prozac and similar drugs.
Yeah, the biochemical route. Haidt shares his own story about taking Paxil, an SSRI like Prozac. He said it was like putting on rose-colored glasses.
Suddenly less anxious, more accepting, things he couldn't achieve just through willpower.
Exactly. It chemically shifted his elephant's default state. Now, he stopped due to side effects, but it showed him the power of biochemistry to alter personality and mood.
Which led to controversy, right? The idea of it being a fork cut or cosmetic psychopharmacology changing personality without the hard work.
It definitely sparked debate about effort and growth. But Haidt's point is that all three methods, meditation, cognitive therapy, and medication, work in a similar way.
How so?
They all involve taming the elephant, guiding it gently, changing its environment or its chemistry, rather than try to conquer it through sheer will. You have to work with the elephant, not against it.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, acknowledging the elephant's power is key. Let's shift gears slightly. Part 2. The pursuit of happiness, understanding our well-being. Where does Haidt start here?
He starts with something kind of depressing, actually. The disappointment of success.
Doesn't sound very happy.
Well, it reflects what ancient thinkers observed. The king in Ecclesiastes had everything: wealth, power, pleasure, but called it all vanity, meaningless. Buddha said attachment to external things is suffering. Epictetus said want things to happen as they do happen, not as you wish.
So getting what you want doesn't actually bring lasting happiness. That feels wrong somehow.
It feels wrong, but there's truth to it. Haidt thinks maybe those ancients went a bit too far, dismissing externals completely. But modern psychology backs up the core idea with the hedonic treadmill.
The idea that we adapt to good things really quickly.
Super quickly. That's the adaptation principle. Your happiness level is judged relative to what you're used to. You get a raise, buy a new car, move to a nicer place. Initial thrill, yes. But then
It just becomes the new normal. And you need something else to get that boost again.
Exactly. You're running on the treadmill just to stay in the same place, happiness-wise.
And we're bad at predicting this, right? The effective forecasting error.
Terribly bad. We grossly overestimate the intensity and the duration of how happy good things will make us and how miserable bad things will make us.
Like winning the lottery. People think it'll solve everything.
Studies show lottery winners are often back to their baseline happiness within about a year. Same, remarkably, for people who suffer terrible accidents, like becoming paraplegic, they adapt much more than we'd predict.
Stephen Hawking's quote comes to mind. "My expectations were reduced to zero. Everything since then has been a bonus." Adaptation is powerful.
Incredibly powerful. Which suggests chasing external achievements as the sole path to happiness is probably misguided because of adaptation.
So if achieving goals doesn't bring lasting joy because we adapt, what does?
This is where Haidt introduces the progress principle. He argues the pleasure isn't so much in reaching the goal, but in making progress towards it.
The journey, not the destination.
Pretty much. Shakespeare said it. Things won are done. Joy's soul lies in the doing. There's a real neurological basis for this, too.
Yeah. What happens in the brain?
Well, there's this feeling of release when a goal is achieved, associated with reduced activity in the left prefrontal cortex, which is linked to approach motivation. That final moment can actually feel a bit flat compared to the striving.
Like climbing a mountain, the struggle up is often more engaging than the 5 minutes you spend at the very top before heading down.
Exactly. It's the engagement, the striving, the feeling of getting better, getting closer, that carries a lot of the positive feeling.
Okay, so adaptation limits the joy of arrival, but progress feels good. This leads to Haidt's big happiness formula, right?
Yes. HS plus C plus V. It's simple but powerful.
Let's break that down. H is happiness, obviously. What's S?
S is your biological set point, your genetic predisposition. Some people are just born naturally cheerier, some more melancholic. It's like a range you tend to operate within.
So genes play a big role, like 50–80% heritability.
A significant role, yeah. But Haidt argues strongly against the idea that H just equals S. It's not a fixed thermostat. It's a potential range, which means the other factors matter.
Okay, so C is for?
C is the conditions of your life. These are the relatively stable facts about your life that you can't easily change or that you don't adapt to quickly.
And V?
V is for voluntary activities, the things you consciously choose to do.
So while S sets a range, C and V can push you towards the top or body of that range.
Exactly. They absolutely matter. Your genes aren't your destiny when it comes to happiness, just a predisposition.
Okay, let's talk about C, the conditions. What kinds of things have a lasting impact because we don't fully adapt to them?
Haidt highlights a few key ones. First, noise. Chronic, uncontrollable noise like traffic outside your window all night. People never fully adapt. It keeps stress hormones elevated.
Makes sense. What else?
Lack of control. Feeling like you have no control over your situation is incredibly stressful. Studies show even just believing you have control, like having a panic button you never press, reduces stress.
Like those nursing home studies where giving residents more choice over small things dramatically improve their health.
Exactly. Perceived control is huge. Then, surprisingly, shame and appearance can matter in specific ways.
How so? I thought attractiveness didn't correlate much with happiness.
Overall attractiveness, no. But if someone feels intense, persistent shame about a specific physical feature, say a facial disfigurement, correcting it through plastic surgery can lead to lasting happiness increases because it removes that constant burden of self-consciousness. It's freedom from a specific, non-adapting negative feeling.
That's interesting. And the big one for C?
Relationships.
Yeah.
Haidt is crystal clear. You never adapt to interpersonal conflict. Constant fighting is one of the surest ways to be miserable.
And conversely?
Good relationships are one of the strongest, most reliable predictors of happiness. We're social creatures. We need connection. That's a condition we never fully adapt to needing. It's a constant source of well-being.
Okay, so those are conditions. What about voluntary activities? Things we choose to do.
This is where Csikszentmihalyi's work on flow comes in. That feeling of being totally absorbed in something challenging but doable.
Yeah, like playing music, coding, rock climbing.
Yeah.
You lose track of time.
That's flow. Your skills meet the challenge. You get immediate feedback. In flow, the elephant and rider are working together perfectly. The elephant's doing the skilled work automatically. The rider is fully engaged and focused.
And Haidt distinguishes these from mere pleasures.
Right. Pleasures are things like eating good food, having sex. They feel good, but they're fleeting. Flow activities are gratifications. They challenge you, build skills, and provide a deeper, more lasting satisfaction.
So, seeking out activities that lead to flow is a key voluntary path to happiness.
Definitely. And related to that is actively using your signature strengths.
What does that mean?
Peterson and Seligman identified core human strengths, things like kindness, curiosity, leadership, perseverance. Haidt says using your top strengths regularly, especially in ways that connect you to others, is a reliable way to boost happiness.
Like consciously doing acts of kindness or practicing gratitude?
Exactly. Those are voluntary activities that research shows consistently nudge happiness upwards. Small things, done intentionally.
But we can also choose voluntary activities that don't help, right? Haidt warns about misguided pursuits.
Oh, for sure. Robert Frank talks about luxury fever, chasing the wrong kinds of goals. He distinguishes conspicuous consumption from inconspicuous consumption.
Conspicuous is showing off. Big houses, fancy cars.
Yeah, status goods. Things you buy partly to impress others. The problem is everyone else is doing it too, so you adapt, the bar gets raised, and you're back on the hedonic treadmill. Positional goods.
Whereas inconspicuous consumption is
things you value for themselves, consumed more privately, like vacations, learning new skills, maybe even just a shorter commute. These things tend to resist adaptation better.
So we often chase the flashy stuff that adapts quickly instead of the less visible stuff that might bring more lasting joy, like working crazy hours for a bigger house instead of prioritizing time off.
It happens all the time. Experiences tend to bring more lasting happiness than material goods, partly because they're less prone to social comparison and become part of our identity.
And then there's the paradox of choice. Too many options making us less happy.
Barry Schwartz's idea, yes. Especially for maximizers, people who need to find the absolute best option. They agonize over choices, compare constantly, and often end up feeling regretful and less satisfied, even if their choice was objectively good.
Compared to satisficers,
who just find something good enough and stop looking. They're generally happier and less stressed. Modern life, with its endless options, can be a trap for maximizers.
Okay, that's a lot on happiness itself. Let's move to part 3, meaning, morality, and the ultra-social self. Haidt starts with something basic, reciprocity.
Yeah, the foundation of social life, the golden rule, do unto others. It's everywhere for reasons, how we cooperate.
You see it in animals with kin altruism, right? Helping relatives because you share genes.
Sure, that explains helping your family. But humans cooperate in huge groups of non-relatives. That requires something more.
Reciprocal altruism, the tit-for-tat strategy.
Exactly. Be nice first. Then mirror what the other person does. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. It allows cooperation to emerge even among strangers. Think sending Christmas cards, or those vampire bats sharing blood.
And our emotions help enforce this, like vengeance and gratitude.
Crucial. They're not just feelings, they're social tools. Vengeance punishes cheaters, making cooperation safer. Gratitude rewards cooperation, strengthening bonds. They help maintain fairness in large groups.
Which leads to gossip. Haidt has a surprising take on gossip.
He really does. Robin Dunbar's theory is that language evolved partly for gossip, as a kind of verbal grooming to manage social relationships in larger groups than primates could handle with physical grooming.
So gossip isn't just idle chatter.
Haidt argues it's a vital social control mechanism. His research shows it's mostly critical, focusing on rule-breaking and moral violations. It's like a distributed police force and teacher.
Spreading reputational information, who's trustworthy, who's a cheat, enforcing norms without formal laws all the time.
Exactly. It helps us know who to cooperate with and who to avoid. It binds groups together through shared judgments. Without it, cooperation on a large scale would be much harder.
Okay, but this social maneuvering brings us to a trickier part of ourselves. The hypocritical mind, our inner lawyer.
Yeah, Haidt says we have this constitutional ignorance of our own biases. We're brilliant at spotting hypocrisy and self-interest in others.
But completely blind to it in ourselves.
Pretty much. We're driven by impression management, wanting to look good, cooperative, fair, even if our elephant is acting selfishly underneath.
Like that coin flip study where 90% fairly gave themselves the prize but believed they acted ethically.
A perfect example of motivated reasoning. The writer, our inner lawyer, is superb at finding reasons to justify what the elephant already wants or feels. It searches for evidence that confirms our existing view.
Which makes disagreements so hard. We think our reasons are logical, but their reasons are biased.
And we judge others by their actions, but ourselves by our intentions. I didn't mean to be late. Yeah, but you were late. This self-serving bias fuels conflict constantly. We think we do more housework. We think our perspective is uniquely insightful.
It's deeply ingrained, and this leads to Haidt's concept of the myth of pure evil.
Yes, this tendency to see conflicts as good versus evil. Our side is virtuous, their side is malicious, irredeemable.
We demonize opponents.
Completely. And Haidt argues this myth is the root cause of so many prolonged, vicious cycles of violence. Both sides feel like righteous victims fighting pure evil.
When the real causes of violence are usually more complex.
Much more. Greed, sadism, which is rare, but also threatened egotism, especially narcissism, reacting to perceived slights and idealism, believing violence is justified for a noble cause.
So overcoming this requires
What?
seeing the log in our own eye.
Exactly. Recognizing our own hypocrisy, our own contributions to conflict, trying to achieve that ideal of do not like, do not dislike, all will then be clear. Overcoming that constant judgmentalism, which is, ironically, the mind's normal condition, it requires actively taming the elephant's knee-jerk reactions.
Okay, let's shift to something more positive that can emerge from difficulty. Adversity, growth, and wisdom. Can bad things really make us stronger?
Haidt explores this carefully. He acknowledges severe trauma can be devastating, but he focuses on post-traumatic growth, the idea that facing adversity can lead to positive changes.
Like his friend Greg, who lost his family but eventually rebuilt his life with deeper appreciation and new priorities.
Yes. Haidt identified three main benefits that can come from overcoming adversity. 1, it reveals hidden abilities. You learn you're tougher than you thought.
Changes your self-concept, okay?
2, it strengthens relationships. Hardship often makes us value connection more, turns off the everyday competitiveness. And 3, it changes priorities off, of course, appreciating the present, connecting with others, finding deeper meaning.
How does this relate to our personality? He uses Dan McAdams' model.
Right. McAdams' 3 levels of personality.
Mm-hmm.
Level 1, basic traits, the elephant, largely genetic. Level 2, characteristic adaptations, goals, values, coping styles. Level 3, life stories. Our narrative identity, the story we tell about ourselves.
And adversity forces us to rewrite that story.
It often disrupts level 2, our goals, our usual ways of coping, which then requires us to integrate the experience into our level 3 life story. You can't have a rich life story without some twists and turns, some vicissitudes.
He talks about commitment stories versus contamination sequences.
Yeah, commitment stories are about finding redemption or growth in adversity associated with well-being. Contamination sequences are where good things always get spoiled, linked to depression. How you narrate the adversity matters.
And sense-making is key here. Pennebaker's research on writing about trauma.
Crucial. It's not just venting emotions, catharsis that helps. It's actively making sense of the event, figuring out causes and consequences, integrating it into your story. That's what improves health and well-being.
And the timing matters. Adversity in young adulthood, 15 to 25, might be particularly impactful for growth.
Seems so. That's a key time for identity formation. Going through challenges, then, can build resilience for life.
All of this contributes to developing wisdom.
Haidt thinks so. He uses Sternberg's definition of wisdom as tacit knowledge, that practical know-how for balancing your own needs, others' needs, and the bigger picture. Adversity helps build that complex, nuanced understanding.
Now, a really interesting, maybe less intuitive part, divinity and vertical dimension. What's Haidt getting at here?
He uses the flatland metaphor. Imagine beings living in a 2D world, unable to comprehend a third dimension. Haidt argues we moderns often live in a kind of psychological flatland.
We see the horizontal dimension, closeness, friend versus stranger, and the vertical dimension of status hierarchy power. But we miss something else.
We often miss a second vertical dimension, divinity or sacredness, a sense of purity, elevation, degradation, awe, things being set apart as special or taboo.
And this connects to the emotion of disgust.
Strangely, yes. Disgust starts as a guardian of the mouth. Don't eat that rotten food. Then it becomes a guardian of the body. Avoid contamination, disease.
And then cultures recruit it for moral purposes.
Exactly. Disgust gets attached to certain behaviors, groups, ideas, foods, sexual practices. It helps define the boundaries of the group, what's considered pure or polluted. It underlies the ethic of divinity, where the body or certain rules are seen as sacred.
Like dietary laws or rules about hygiene and religious traditions.
Precisely. And the opposite emotion is elevation.
That feeling you get when you see someone do something incredibly kind or courageous.
Yes, that warm, uplifting feeling in your chest. Jefferson described it beautifully. Haidt's research shows it makes you want to be a better person, connect with others, maybe even triggers bonding hormones like oxytocin.
And then there's awe, that feeling of encountering something vast that blows your mind.
Right. Something huge physically, like the Grand Canyon, conceptually, like quantum physics, socially, like a massive unified ritual that your mind can't immediately grasp. It often leads to feeling small but connected to something larger, linked to spiritual experiences, nature, profound insights.
These feelings, disgust, elevation, awe, they point to this third dimension of sacredness that shapes human experience, even if we don't always label it religious.
Absolutely. It's a fundamental part of our moral psychology, Haidt argues.
But this focus on the self, even striving for elevation, runs into what Haidt calls the satanic self. What does he mean by satanic?
Not literal devil worship. Satan here means adversary or obstacle. The self, our ego, our conscious storyteller is amazing, uniquely human. But it's also the main obstacle to spiritual growth or deep transformation, according to many traditions.
How does it get in the way?
3 main ways. 1, just constant self-centered thoughts, me, hard to transcend that. 2, resistance to change. The ego wants to protect itself, its status, its possessions, makes it hard to embrace things like forgiveness, humility, or loving enemies. 3, aversion to hard work. The self often prefers the easy path, resisting the discipline needed for real growth.
This helps explain different cultural moralities, like the ethic of autonomy versus the ethic of divinity.
Yes. Western cultures often emphasize autonomy, individual rights, freedom, harm care, fairness. That's the writer's domain, focusing on individuals. Many other cultures, and often conservative viewpoints within Western culture, also strongly emphasize the ethic of community, loyalty, authority, group cohesion, and the ethic of divinity. Purity, sanctity, living nobly, controlling the self.
So liberals tend to prioritize autonomy, while conservatives draw on all 3.
That's what Haidt's moral foundations theory suggests, based on lots of data. Neither is inherently better, they just prioritize different moral dimensions. Liberals see community and divinity ethics as potentially oppressive. Conservatives see relying only on autonomy as leading to social breakdown.
And the point is, we need a balance.
Haidt argues strongly for balance. A society needs both the liberal focus on individual rights and challenging hierarchies, and the conservative focus on maintaining order, tradition, and social cohesion. Wisdom involves understanding the value and perspectives you don't share, getting beyond the myth of pure evil.
Okay, we've covered a lot. Let's bring it together in the conclusion. Happiness comes from between. What's the core message here?
First, Haidt distinguishes the big philosophical question, what's the purpose of life? From the psychological one, how do I find purpose within my life? He's focused on the second one.
And his answer involves a plant.
Yeah, the plant metaphor. Like a plant needs sun, water, soil to thrive. Humans need the right conditions to flourish. We have innate needs.
And Freud's famous answer to what those needs are.
Love and work. Haidt basically agrees these are the 2 most crucial conditions for finding meaning within life.
Let's touch on the power of work. It's more than just a paycheck.
Much more. There's a fundamental human drive, what Robert White called effectance, to be competent, to make things happen, to solve problems. Even monkeys solve puzzles for the sheer satisfaction of it.
And work becomes really meaningful when it feels like a calling.
Exactly. When you see your work as intrinsically valuable, contributing to something larger than yourself, like those hospital janitors who saw themselves as part of the healing team, not just cleaners. They found meaning by connecting their actions to a larger purpose and using their strengths.
This sounds like vital engagement.
Yes, Csikszentmihalyi's term. It's when work combines that deep absorption of flow with a profound sense of meaning. It's love made visible. Like Haidt's example of Catherine and her horses, it became a core part of her identity and purpose.
And the health of a whole profession can depend on this kind of coherence between individual goals and the larger mission.
Absolutely. When personal motivations align with the stated ideals of the profession, like in basic science, people thrive. When they clash, like sometimes in journalism or law, driven purely by market forces, meaning erodes.
This idea of alignment leads to his big integrating concept, cross-level coherence.
This is key. Haidt argues we feel the most profound sense of meaning when our lives make sense across different levels simultaneously.
What are the levels?
Our physical existence, body, feelings, our psychological existence, conscious thoughts, goals, values the writer, and our sociocultural existence, our place in groups, culture, the cosmos.
So when your physical actions, your personal beliefs, and your cultural narratives all line up and reinforce each other, meaning just happens?
That's the idea. He uses the example of traditional Hindu life in India, the physical purity rituals, the conscious beliefs about karma and reincarnation, the social roles and cosmic stories, they all fit together seamlessly. Meaningfulness just happens. It emerges automatically from cross-level coherence.
This helps explain why humans are so groupish, right? The dual-level evolution idea.
Yes, building on David Sloan Wilson. We evolved genetically as individuals, but also culturally as groups. Culture, especially religion, with its shared beliefs and rituals, helps groups cooperate, suppress free riders, and outcompete other groups.
That's the Part B idea. We're not just selfish apes, we're also wired for groupishness, for self-sacrifice for the hive.
Exactly. We have this capacity to transcend self-interest for the sake of the group.
And things like mystical experiences or group rituals tap into this.
They seem to. Mystical experiences often involve feeling merged with something larger, losing the sense of self. Synchronized activities like marching or dancing create that feeling of we-ness, tapping into our inner hive bee, which can feel incredibly meaningful and connecting.
So putting it all together, the ultimate answer isn't found inside yourself or purely outside in achievements.
No. Haidt concludes that happiness and meaning come from between. They emerge from the relationships between things.
Relationships between yourself and others, yourself and your work, and yourself and something larger than yourself.
Precisely. It's about getting those relationships right, finding coherence across the levels of your existence.
And his final advice is about balanced wisdom.
Yeah. Don't throw out the old wisdom for the new, or vice versa. Balance east and west. Balance liberal and conservative insights. Understand the elephant and the rider. Know your potential, know your limits, train the elephant gently, and live wisely by understanding your whole self in its social context.
That's a powerful synthesis. We've covered the divided self, the real drivers of happiness, the nature of meaning and morality. Quite a journey through the human condition.
It really is. Haidt offers such a rich framework for understanding ourselves.
So a final thought for everyone listening to take away and chew on. If Haidt is right, if our nature is this blend of part ape, part bee, capable of both intense selfishness and incredible groupishness, how could really understanding our inner hive, our capacity for connection and shared purpose, maybe help us navigate the conflicts we see everywhere today?
Could understanding that shared dimension, that need for meaning and belonging beyond the individual, point towards building more coherent communities, maybe even a more coherent world?
Something to think about. This deep dive into the happiness hypothesis gives you tools understanding flow, relationships, purpose, your own biases. We hope you use them.
Keep exploring, keep asking questions. That's what it's all about.